Have you ever been attacking and realized you can't open the main wall because no one brought a hard breach? Or maybe you're attacking border but didn't bring a nomad for runouts?
God damn it, dude.
These situations exemplify poor attacking operator selection and neglecting the importance of operator roles. Today we'll figure out the different attacking operator roles so that we can win more rounds. To do this, I'll start by going through basic team composition, and then we'll dive into each role: support, fragger, and flex. So, let's start off with basic team composition and why it's so important. Bringing the right operators on attack can basically make or break your round. If you miss bringing important utility, you're pretty much out of luck. This could be something like not bringing Thatcher or EMPs when main wall has a bandit. Not only are you not opening the site wall, you're making Bandit's job easier because he doesn't need to worry about bandit tricking, and you're freeing him up to help his team in other parts of the map. This example highlights the importance of operator selection, but it's not the only one. You need explosives to deal with shields, we need smokes for certain plants, we need soft breach to push vertical, and many more. We need to make sure that we're bringing operators that directly deal with defender gadgets that are in between us and winning the round. When we're picking, we should start by making a goal, something that we need to complete during the round to make our push easier. Then we select our operator who can complete that task. This means our team composition has to be constructed with defender setups in mind. The basic template that high ranks and pros use is this: 2 support players, 2 fragging players, and a flex player. We're going to dive into each role much deeper, but in general, support players should focus on hard breaching reinforcements, droning for info, and planting the bomb. Fragging players take on map control, they get picks, and they clear roamers and destroy utility. Flex players are an in-between, often separated from the support and fragging roles. They're usually doing stuff like flank watch, crowd control, or info gathering. They can either help supports or fraggers depending on the map and how the round develops, hence their name, Flex. With this template, you're covering most of the tasks that your team needs to complete, hopefully with some redundancy in there to replace your fallen teammates as the round progresses. Remember, this is just a template. You might need different types of ops in your lineup for certain sites and executes. We make more specific selections on each operator based off of map knowledge and info from our drones in prep phase. Right now, let's focus on the basic setup that applies to most bomb sites in the game. So now that we know the basic lineup, let's deep dive into each role, their jobs, and what operators to pick. If an operator's in a different role than what you're used to, let me know in the comments. These are just my opinions and philosophy on the game. It's not gospel, so keep an open mind and let me know if you disagree. For support, the main focus is dealing with enemy reinforcements. For the hard breach category, we have Thermite, Ace, Hibana, and Maverick. They all open reinforcements, but they do it in slightly different ways, so they should be applied specifically to maximize their strengths. Thermite creates the largest hole, so once walls open, you have great sight lines, and you don't need to vault or crouch to get inside, making your entry more straightforward. His downside is that the gadget is slow, so it's susceptible to bandit and Cade tricking. Ace opens medium-sized holes, and you can throw them lower down so you can crouch through instead of vaulting. Ace also gets 3 charges instead of Thermite's 2, so he can open a higher amount of holes, giving you more options. The gadget also deploys quickly, so you can often be faster than someone who's bandit tricking. And again, he has 3, so you get an extra chance at an open wall. Hibana's gadget can shoot 2, 4, or 6 pellets depending on the size of the hole that you need. This is great for variation, but on a wall, she can only open a few holes that you can get through without being severely exposed. Her strength lies in opening hatches. If you use the 4 pellet setting, you can open up 4 hatches and still have a few left over to make smaller lines of sight. Maverick works a little differently because he uses a blowtorch. You can use him to make multiple small lines of sight, open hatches, and open smaller holes to crouch through. His gadget takes a while to get the job done, but it's unaffected by bandit, Cade, and mute, so you can open a wall no matter what. This allows him to also open the wall entirely through Mav tricking. I won't go into that today because I have a lot to get through, but check this video out to learn how to Mav trick. So, based on what we learned, Thermite and Ace are best for opening large main walls, Hibana's great for opening hatches, and Mav can counter bandits through Mav tricking. Based on the site you're attacking, figure out what kind of reinforcements you're up against, and pick the hard breach that deals with it best. Now, for these hard breachers, we can't open the wall if there's wall denial. So the second support player should bring utility that clears the wall. The king of this role is Thatcher. His 3 MPs disable the wall denial for a short period of time, giving the hard breach a window to open it. Simple as that. You can also bring other operators that have a secondary gadget that's essentially the same as Thatcher's, but it has a smaller radius, activates on impact, and you only get 2, so keep that in mind. If you do choose the impact secondary, Osa is a great Thatcher replacement because you can help open wall and then use the shields from outside. Lastly, we have Callie, whose gadget will destroy wall denial on the other side. Be careful though, because she can destroy friendly hard breaches as well. In addition, the radius is smaller and she's stuck with a sniper rifle, so she's really more suited to long-range engagements, although her secondary is honestly pretty good up close. Since her gadget's a bit less reliable and her guns are less suited to that close-range nature of Siege, she should only be picked if you can take advantage of her weapons. I'll also add real quick, some people may include Twitch, Zero, and Flores in this category, since they can deal with wall denial, but it's often at a higher risk and countered by good mute placements, so I feel you shouldn't really rely on them as your second support operator. So now we have our 2 supports. They should stick together and work to get wall open. They should be droning in prep phase and make sure they can get to the wall safely, and they should stay alive for as long as possible until the wall's been opened. If they die, everyone else has to rely on regular doors to enter site, so it's very important both supports play safely early in the round. Since they're playing safer, they have time to drone in other operators, so map control, and just for general info on defender locations and setups. Also, they're usually trusted with the diffuser, since they're already playing safe and less likely to lose the diffuser somewhere far away, and be close to the site for the execute later on. Now we can move to the next role, fragging operators. These are operators that should primarily be focused on taking map control. They're called fraggers because they do see a lot of gunfights, but it's not because they're chasing kills, they're taking parts of the map that help attackers push. This means they come up against defenders who are trying to hold these positions, and that's where the name comes from. Generally, we pick operators with a good primary weapon since we'll need it, and gadgets that are useful but not imperative to winning the round like support players. This way, in case you do die, your team isn't missing out on opening a wall or something like that. After gaining map control, you should use your gadget to either breach soft walls, destroy defender gadgets, or take gunfights on site. They can also roam clear to make sure the rest of the push is secure. You can have 2 people in this role, and they should be working off of each other. Identify important map control and take it together. This allows you to set up 2v1 gunfights where you're both pushing simultaneously, or set up refrags where one player enters, and if they die, the second player is close by to pick up the trade. Your strength comes from numbers here. Defenders would much prefer 1v1 gunfights, so play off of one another and create the advantage. We also don't want to chase roamers if they aren't stopping our push. Focus on the defenders that are keeping us out of sight. There's no need to fight halfway across the map with a roamer that isn't in our way, unless they're actively flanking us or something. For operator selection, there's a ton of choices, and depending on who you ask, operators can fall into different roles, but at the end of the day, a fragger needs to take map control, deal with gadgets, and win gunfights. When you pick your op, use what you know about the map and the defender setup. Don't just pick your favorite fragger every time. The first category that we'll go through is the most recognizable, soft breach. This includes operators like Ash, Zoph, Buck, Sledge, and Ram. Ash and Zoph play pretty much the same, being able to destroy soft walls and bulletproof gadgets from a distance, so they're basically interchangeable. Both have good primary weapons, with Ash probably having the edge in that regard. In drone phase, see if the other team's using a lot of bulletproof gadgets, things like shields, bulletproof cams, and maestros. These are your targets, and it's your job to get rid of them so that the execute can go down. Remember, your support can't enter site with a shield watching them, and they can't plant if Maestro's whittling down their health. That's your responsibility. Take the map control, use your gadget, then get your kills if it hasn't happened already. The next subcategory of soft breachers has to do with vertical play. Sledge, Buck, and Ram are all great for taking vertical map control and opening up sight from above. Vertical engagements are useful when the bomb site's below a soft floor, and fighting from above can create a very advantageous gunfight for you. When you play vert, think about the power positions that defenders use in sight, and if you can block them from above. Sledge is very direct, and can open a lot of holes quickly. His grenades can help with utility clear, and he can bring EMPs as well to help with wall. Buck works similarly, but his shotgun gives him a little bit more range. This allows you to stretch his destruction a little bit farther, and even breach from below in certain instances. Ram's a little different. Her gadget opens large lines of destruction without her direct involvement. This is good when you need to open holes, but also cover your flanks at the same time with that R4C. The next fragging category is roam clear, and that includes Jackal, Lion, and Doke. Before we get into it deeper, remember it's best to bring a buddy. Even as a roam clear operator, we can often get overwhelmed alone and miss the one corner someone's actually hiding in. When we roam clear, we aren't running around chasing kills, we're purposely clearing vital map control so that our team can execute in those areas later on. Jackal can see where people have been and scan to see their current location. Great if you're trying to make the defense scared and run away from your push. Doke's calls are huge for a similar reason. Make the call and the defender will either run away or be a sitting duck for your team to collapse on together. Lion doesn't directly find roamers, but if you have info already on someone nearby, you can activate the gadget to keep defenders still and easy targets. He's also great for creating chaos during an execute, taking defenders' focus off of the plant and onto the scan. Lastly, for fraggers, we have the more gunfight-focused ops like Ying, Blackbeard, and Finka. These ops are solely focused on giving you the advantage in an engagement. With Blackbeard, you can be really aggressive, pushing defenders away and gathering info with your shield, using his weapon at the moment you see an opening. Finka's one of my favorites. Her LMG is very good. Super low recoil and 100 rounds. It's insane. Combine that with heals and frags for utility clearing, and she can be super useful. Ying is great just to make people look away from your location and hide from you. Use the flashes to clear and take the map control, eliminating anyone caught in the flash. As I've mentioned before, fraggers should move in pairs for refrags and safety, but there's another reason as well. You should try not to have two of the exact same type unless it's really needed. For example, if you need to take vertical control, you can bring Buck and Doke. When you push, Doke finds the roamers, the two ops fight them, and then Buck can open the floor. Sometimes you do need two ops of the same type, but use your map knowledge and drone info to pick the right ones. So generally, those are the ops I would put in the fragging role. Although sometimes the line between fraggers and our next section flex becomes blurry. So let's look at the most diverse role next, flex. The flex role is best defined by its adaptability. That fifth pick is specializing your push to the map. Basically, we're providing something that assists the functions of fraggers and supports, something like protecting the wall or holding map control. Flex basically means that we pick off of whatever the team requires or what the map makes us do. This definition's a little nebulous, but I promise it'll make more sense as we go. The most consistent flex role is flank watch, primarily done by Nomad, Gridlock, and sometimes Zero. This job is super important. Pretty much anytime you take vertical control, you should protect the stair flanks so that soft breachers can open the door protected. You can also put the gadget around main wall for runouts to protect your hard breachers. You can even save one for plant and put it on the diffuser. Both Nomad and Gridlock basically work the same way. Pick the area you don't want to get flanked from and make sure the gadget properly covers it. Zero can also watch flanks, but it needs to be actively watched by someone. He can't directly stop a flanking defender. But if your stack is good with comms, he can fill the role in a pinch. His cams are also useful for more than just flank watch, stuff like gathering info ahead of him, gathering info through reinforcements. This is why he kinda also fits into the next section of flex players, info gathering. This group includes Yana, IQ, Brava, and Zero like we mentioned earlier. You might also consider these as frag ops, but I often find myself being in less of a gunfight heavy role with them and more supporting the other players on the team with their objectives. Yana has her holograms and can be used like a drone to check the rooms in front of you along with your teammates. IQ's great when you take the vert control, check for vault cams, C4, and ping out any gadgets you can't destroy yourself. Brava can counter those Maestro cams and give you some extra info, and no one's going to say no to extra drones. With this group, you're looking to give your team better context during the round. The more info we gather, the better our decisions will be. The last really defined flex role is crowd control. Capitao, Grim, and Fuse. Grim and Capitao effectively work the same way. If you don't want to be pushed from a certain angle, you can just block it off completely. Fuse clears out any defenders on the other side of his gadget, and really he works best from above. We use these guys when we want to clear an area. If you know you need to fight multiple angles or clear out a power position, these are the ops that can put their gadget in that area and stop defenders from pushing. A few honorable mentions that are also useful, but not in any of the roles I really described, are Osa, Flores, and Sentence. I always think of Osa as more of a support, like I mentioned earlier in the video, but those shields can be really useful to create cover in your site and reinforce your map control, rather than just being used on the wall. Floors can work a lot like Ash to break faraway utility, or you can work with Therm to open the wall, or you can be like Capitao and make defenders move from a position. It just depends on how you use him, and honestly I should try him out more often. Lastly, I think Sen's gets a bit of a bad rap. His gun got buffed recently, so the recoil's manageable, and maybe the recent gadget rework will give him a leg up. There's just something to be said for cutting off an entire line of sight with a single gadget. I've always felt he could be a bit more useful if the community really took the time to learn his gadget, me included. So now that we've gone through all the different roles, you may have noticed a few things. First, no matter the role, we're selecting operators to complete a specific job. We give ourselves a goal, wall, roam clear, flank, whatever, and pick the person that will help us complete it. When you're in the round, focus on that goal, and make sure you actually use the gadget. Second, I didn't cover everyone on attack, and frankly, that's because there's always a few operators that just don't really bring the most effective utility, and are better replaced by other picks. Amaru is like the hallmark of this. I don't care how many times you've aced with her or whatever, there's always a better pick. Other ops like Twitch are just not in the meta right now. I mean, 4 years ago she would have been the first Fragger operator that I mentioned, but now she's just not as good. There's always a chance I'm oblivious to a great pick, but this is based off of my experience and what I find success with. Lastly, while I'm talking about my experience, if an operator's in a different role than what you would put them in, that's totally fine, especially for flex ops. If you play him like a fragger, or if you play him more of a support, go for it. I just hope I explained why I made the choices that I did, and I hope you can understand how I see the operators and how I think they should be played. Alright, that's all I have for attacking operator roles. Hopefully you guys learned something. You don't need to copy exactly what I do here. If you take anything away, just focus on making sure you aren't missing something when you enter a round. Pick ops based on their gadgets and how they can be useful every round. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and thanks for watching. I'll see you.